Good evening. This is Maestro Cortella with the Dawn of War 2 Retribution Elite Modcast. Today, we've got a 3v3 on Meridian High City. I think I swallowed that word a little bit. And our first player on the blue team is Deckard Kane, playing as the Eldar Farseer. This is a support hero. She has a variety of spells, many of them for buffing, debuffing. She has a healing spell, and she also has a few for disabling and damage. Next up, we've got the great Cornholio, playing as Sindri, Trollface, Chaos Sorcerer. This is another spellcasting hero. He's more focused on damage, manipulation, and control. Doesn't really have any buffing or stuff like that. Next up, we've got che1349, just going to be called Che. He is playing as the Orc Mekboy. He's building a wall banner right there. Building another one. Mekboy is a handy orc, good with machines. He also can teleport around and be really annoying that way. On the other team, first of all, we've got tom.woehlke. Hereafter just called Tom because Tom is a very easy name to say and his last name is not. He is playing as a Plague Champion, Chaos Marine, dedicated to Nurgle. He is a ranged hero to start out, can get melee weapons, can also repair and heal. We've got crazypeacocke as yet another Plague Champion, this one rocking the Deckard Elite scheme. Looks pretty cool, much cooler than the default. And then finally, we've got zeetorq playing as an Orc Warboss. Big, tanky melee hero, actually the only real tanky melee hero in this game, unless we see a melee Plague Champion. And he can tank, stomp, charge, and use his great Warboss buffs. Alright, Heretic's getting very, very low on health in the middle, down to 52 hit points, now even less have upgraded to grenade launchers for crazypeacocke, although it looks like overall a great Cornholio is helping to take the middle of the blue team with a pretty convincing control of the, I was going to say a pretty convincing control of the middle early on, although it appears that originally red team had it and then the blue team forced them off, because the red team still has 500 VPs, blue team meanwhile has 471, but they are about to get the double cap. Man, can't really choose a spot on the map correctly. Mekboy teleports in to tie up the Plague Champion. Meanwhile, the Slugger Boys are coming in. They're about to get healed as well as doom blasted, and the Sluggers are actually severely outlasting the Heretics in that case. I think because and they're actually going to wipe out that squad of Heretics. Well played by Che. And he's actually absolutely destroying tom.woehlke at the moment. Can he finish off that last Chaos Space Marine? Instead, he goes for the Plague Champion. I think it would have been a bigger win if he had finished off the Chaos Space Marine squad, and I think he could have done that as well, but big wins for Che early on, big losses for Tom. Anyway, it looks like we're about to have a meeting in the middle of, again, we have some Tzeentch worship from the great Cornholio. He's got dual Chaos Space Marines as well as a Havoc, so he's got a lot of ranged firepower sitting in worship that could just come out and surprise his opponents. I think he should make some kind of move, though, because instead we've got zeetorq pushing in against Deckard. That's forcing Deckard off, and now Cornholio is kind of going to be by himself, but he shoots in some Doom Bolts, doing a lot of damage. The Havoc needs to open fire, though, because the Chaos Space Marines are taking too much damage, even under Tzeentch worship. One goes down. Havoc is not correctly set up. It's setting up now, so unfortunately a bit of a misplay by great Cornholio. He had a good position, even considering he was a little overwhelmed, and he did not correctly micro the Havoc so that it started suppressing and started giving him more of an advantage. Deckard is coming in. Unfortunately, but you know what? Here's also the support from Che. So overall, I think this is going to go in favor of this particular engagement will go in favor of the blue team, even though it wasn't perfectly played. One grenade launcher squad of Heretics probably going to go down here. Looks like they're just about lucky to get out of there alive. This Pain Boy support is being absolutely instrumental in countering the Heretics because he's able to keep the Slugger Boys in there longer than they normally would to deal with the Heretics. And we had a Heretic squad, two Heretic squads that nearly went down for crazypeacocke. Havoc is now suppressing, but there are some units that will be able to get around the firing arc. He does need the Chaos Space Marines to help protect that firing arc. but I don't think this is going to go well for Great Cornholio. We've got an enemy Havoc setting up for tom.woehlke, as well as Chaos Space Marines shooting from outside the firing arc. The Havocs are getting suppressed. Havocs have been changed now, so they do not suppress as quickly as they used to, but I believe as a trade-off they do a little bit more damage. And of course the unique trait of the Havoc was always their instant suppression, but personally, in my opinion, the way the Havocs have been changed is actually more of a buff than a nerf. They take longer to suppress, but they get a little bit more damage. I think they needed the damage. Chaos as a race needed the extra range damage more than it needed the instant suppression, in my opinion. So I think it's a buff. They also now have melee resistance in the latest build of Elite Mod, which is, of course, just a straight buff. No trade-off there, just a straight buff. Anyway, shooter boys for zeetorq. One appears to be fully upgraded. The other one has their big shooters, and they destroyed some power nodes and possibly some generators that were down on this power node. Deckard seems to be running with a pretty lean force. Only 2 Dire Avengers and Howling Banshees. It can be a little uncommon and, to be honest, a little difficult to execute a Tier 1 Eldar build that does not have any kind of support weapon. Usually Eldar relies more on both the Shuriken Cannon as well as Rangers. They rely on those support weapons a bit more than other races early on in the game. Anyway, big engagement right here. Melee Heretics try to charge in, but they get suppressed. There's a big wall of Daka right here, mostly Orc Daka. We've got some Chaos Space Marines lounging around and not shooting. They finally start shooting. Heretics for Great Cornholio need to Doom Blast and then get the heck out of there. Just Doom Blast as a melee counter. Oh, but you know what? They're committing anyway, and instead the Heretics for Tom is going to lose another squad of Heretics, and he does lose another squad of Heretics. Ouch. Meanwhile, it looks like, oh, Crazy Peacock nearly losing his Noise Marines as well, so some not-so-good squad preservation from our players right here. But crazy engagements, and Crazy Peacock loses a squad of Heretics. Anyway, Dire Avengers about to engage. I don't think this is a winning position for them, really, but actually the shooter boys stutter step a little bit. Yeah, ultimately, well, the shooter boys are backing off, I guess perhaps because they don't want to have to deal with the Howling Banshees, but the Warboss was there to counter the Howling Banshees, and overall this is not a winning engagement for Deckard. I think it's pretty tough to make his build work in Tier 1, where he only has Dire Avengers and Banshees. He does have the Farseer, and he doesn't have either a Shuriken Cannon or a Ranger. I think just both of those are very critical to early game play for Eldar, and not to say that it's impossible to play without them, but it's certainly harder.
We make common cause with these degenerates.
Alright, Great Cornholio has upgraded to have the Sword of Flame. That will increase his melee damage as well as give him the Coruscating Flame ability if he can get into melee combat. Lately, he doesn't seem like he's really been in melee combat that much. He's mostly been sitting back, shooting some Doom Bolts. Orcs for Che. Che has been playing really well so far in this game. Great use of the Pain Boy. Very good judgment in engagements, committing at times when it's really going to reward him and punish his opponents. So overall, the play from the blue team has been a bit stronger. Although the red team is the one with the double cap and the lead in VPs. Dreadnought out, so we're in Tier 2 for pretty much all of our players. Literally all of our players, in fact. Dreadnought is out, but no actual AV, I believe, yet. Oh, there is an autocannon Havoc, so that will count as AV. Chaos Space Marines for Great Cornholio getting silenced. One model goes down, and both are upgraded to the Mark of Tzeentch, giving them extremely high range DPS. Well, at least right now. Well, they do have Eternal War, so yeah, combination of Mark of Tzeentch and Eternal War does give them very, very high range DPS. Autocannon is set up a little too far back, so it's not really contributing to the engagement. He's moving up a little bit, but it's still not really doing much. Dreadnought is moving forward as well. And here's another Dreadnought. This one is from Crazy Peacock. Since he is the Death Guard theme, we have a Death Guard Dreadnought here, which looks pretty crazy and disgusting. This one is just a regular skinned Dreadnought. And we've got a flank from Che. So Che is flanking. He still doesn't have AV, but he's forcing off a lot of red team squads. So far, Che is doing extremely well in this game. He has a custom force field that makes the Mekboy a little more resistant to damage, and it also makes him do knockback around him. Anything he runs into, he will do knockback to. And now he's actually bashing generators, avoiding all of this stuff right here, but he really needs to be really careful about having to retreat through a lot of stuff. I think he should actually retreat now. Yes. Alright, good. And even considering he's retreating now, he could be in a little bit of trouble. Force melee from Shooter Boys, which is not going to happen. So no force melee. He ends up being just fine. Meanwhile, now it's Deckard bashing the generators on this side, but he is getting intercepted by... This is zeetorq. zeetorq has a Weird Boy as well. Both zeetorq and Che have Weird Boys, of course. A fantastic sub-commander. Spellcasting sub-commander with a plasma cannon basic attack. Psychic Storm to slow down the Slugger Boys on approach, but now they need to, now the Farseer needs to get out of there. She does get out of there. Does do a little bit of damage to the Slugger Boys. And the dual Dreadnoughts right now doing pretty well to put the red team back out on the field and scare the blue team a little bit. Havoc is set up, but it's not shooting at the Dreadnought. It's about to get eaten apart by some Bloodletters, and this Havoc is actually in a lot of trouble. It does have melee resistance, so it's not taking as much damage as it normally would. And here is a Bloodletter summoning circle. Spawning Bloodletters will also reinforce any units that are nearby, but there are none nearby. The Chaos Dreadnought is still in here. There was an infiltrated Havoc. Yes, we have a... Wow, we've got a bunch of Havocs. Oh no, only two Havocs. One with a las cannon for the Great Cornholio, but he wasn't really able to pull off a shot, or he just reacted a little too slowly. So Dreadnought for Crazy Peacock now in slight amount of trouble, but I think it will be just fine. Looks like Tom has his own autocannon Havoc, and it's absolutely murdering the Howling Banshees, but it won't be able to stop everything. Slugger Boys charging in from Che again. They're going to eat alive the Havoc. I have a feeling that Tom is not going to get this Havoc out of there in time. His squad preservation has just not been there this game. Oh my god, look at all that Orc Daka. Blastmaster shots going in. First one misses, but whenever there's a Blastmaster out on the field or a Plasma Cannon Devastator, it can do massive damage. Actually passes through mostly the Dire Avengers. I think a grenade's going to go in. And wow, a Weird Boy shot actually mostly saves them from that grenade. But Che does lose his Mekboy right there. And oh, we've got multiple things flying around. Some dead Sluggers or Shooter Boys flying around. And we've got a Chaos Dreadnought upgrading to the Mark of Tzeentch while getting shot at by a las cannon. That is not good news at all. It's getting repairs, but it needs to just straight up move back. Alright, las cannon looks like it has switched targets to the Dreadnought that's actually shooting at it. But now we have a Chaos Dreadnought with the Mark of Tzeentch. Shoots a Frenzied Barrage, suppressing and damaging all this stuff. Havoc model goes down.
The enemy is claiming a victory.
Alright, crazy engagements. We have a little bit of a calm. We're like in the eye of the storm right now. I'm sure things will get crazy once again once everything comes back out of there. We have an isolated Shrine of Tzeentch. Could be in a lot of trouble if... Well, it would be very helpful for Cornholio if the red team does not push forward and take out the shrine, because then he can keep the shrine when he really doesn't deserve it. This shrine should be dead. But red team really just sitting back. But they, I guess, just trying to get out on the field. Many of their forces are still in base. zeetorq's got a lot of stuff in base. Crazy Peacock just has his Bloodletters. We've got a Chaos Predator out on the way for Tom. It is an assault vehicle. Anyway, we've got Deckard. Wow, so Deckard techs straight to Tier 3 to get an Avatar. So, I mean, his ability to contribute to engagements has been probably pretty limited up until now. He does have an Avatar now, way ahead of everyone else in terms of tech. Of course, there are other players in Tier 3, but they don't have a super unit out as well. But, I mean, that just means he definitely sacrificed some Tier 2 field presence by not... Oh my god! Che making more big plays, Can he? Yes, he does wipe out that Chaos Space Marine squad. Even having the Sluggers, so far Che has easily been MVP of this game. A great Pain Boy play. And here comes the Avatar of Khaine. Just walking forward, and that's part of what's strong about the Avatar. Like I sometimes like to talk about even the implied threat of something. An Avatar, even it doesn't do range damage, so it's not actually going to do damage unless it actually gets into melee or uses one of its abilities. But just because it's so tough, just when an Avatar walks forward, that exerts like implicit pressure. Because you have to back up, or you have to deal with it. And if you can't deal with it, then you have to back up. And usually, even when you're trying to deal with it, you have to back up a little bit. Unless you're just very, very prepared for it. Oh man, though. We've got some very powerful vehicles out for Tom. He's got a Khorne Dreadnought now, as well as a Khorne Predator. You know, Khorne Predator, I think a pretty good choice. Going to be severely damaging to much of Che's stuff. Since Che now does have some knobs. But certainly against like the Shooter Boys and stuff, the Predator will do a huge amount of damage to the Shooter Boys pretty much with impunity. Doing increased bolter damage as well as cannon damage. Anyway, here is that Avatar. I wonder if we'll see a Great Unclean One to go up against the Avatar, since we do have 2 Chaos players and 2 Nurgle players. So I think it would be very, very appropriate if they got a Great Unclean One. Instead, though, we got a Battle Wagon from zeetorq. The Death Roller. Wow, look at the range of that Zap Gun, shooting from incredibly long range. Meanwhile, the tank from Tom is making its move. Tom should get out some new squad out on the field. Unfortunately, Tom now in a little bit of trouble. His Chaos Predator of Khorne is taking damage from a Chaos Predator of Nurgle, which does do reduced cannon damage, or reduced anti-vehicle damage. And it trades that for area of effect damage against infantry. Anyway, the Khorne Dreadnought is tough, but it still needs to be very, very careful about this Avatar. Avatar, though, needs to be careful because there's a Battle Wagon around here, and the Battle Wagon should be able to kite the Avatar, as well as do some pretty nice damage to it, and chase after it once it starts running away. So meanwhile, we've got, I hear some missiles, we've got a Tzeentch Dreadnought shooting some missile barrages. Some knobs not getting suppressed by Doom Blast because they had Frenzy activated. Che making another move again, pushing in really, really far forward. Deckard coming in now. He's also got a D-Cannon. That's his second purchase, but most of his stuff is off the field. He's mostly just got and he's doing a Wailing Doom. Gonna catch some Chaos Space Marines. Catches like the side of the Chaos Dreadnought, and some Bloodletter's gonna go down for Crazy Peacock. Wow, really lucky to get out of there. And now we have the Wrath of Khaine ability doing nothing because there were no enemy units there. Anyway, Avatar of Khaine now in a little bit of trouble. So are these Tzeentch Chaos Space Marines. There's actually not a whole lot right now, at least not immediately visible, to threaten this Battle Wagon. Definitely need one of those Tzeentch Havocs. Tzeentch Havoc not set up in the best place. That Tzeentch Havoc, its mission right now needs to be to take out the Battle Wagon, because that is pretty much the strongest threat around for the red team, and the Tzeentch Havoc is one of the most powerful sources of anti-vehicle for the blue team. So Tzeentch Havoc really needs to be on that. We have a Nurgle Predator, which is not going to be good at all against the Battle Wagon. And the Autocannon Havoc should actually try to contribute should pretty much be paired with the Tzeentch Havoc to try to focus on that Battle Wagon. Because Battle Wagon now is coming around for a flank, and it's actually flanking the unit that should be countering it. Battle Wagon, a very, very powerful super unit. To quote Toy La Lee, it is the best unit in the game. I'm not saying it is personally, but that is his opinion. Certainly very fast. Heretics trying to capture the point, but they are vanilla. Not going to be able to capture that point. Still taking autocannon damage. And we have a Khorne Predator moving in, but the Khorne Predator needs to watch out a lot from the Chaos Havocs. Tom's unit preservation on his Khorne Predator has actually been pretty good. His unit preservation for most of the game has been pretty bad, but at least with the Khorne Predator, he's doing all right. We now have a Lascannon Predator to go along with Great Cornholio's Nurgle Predator. So Lascannon Predator will easily have the edge over the Khorne Predator, since it will be doing quite a bit more damage to vehicles. this las cannon predator also does need to be focused on taking out that battle wagon. Ooh, Nurgle Predator moving forward, pretty brazen, but I think the red team doesn't really have snaring AV. And it looks like Crazy Peacock now has his own Nurgle Predator, so that Nurgle Predator getting some use. Nurgle Predator, of course, has been reworked very, very much from retail. It does receive a health increase, the speed decrease as it does in retail. However, it also receives melee resistance, health regeneration, and its weapon has been changed so that it does less anti-vehicle damage or less explosive damage, and instead it does like disease damage, like a blight grenade, or actually more like a purification vial. Does basically damage over time in an area, and you will see that kind of like purification vial effect. We've got Weird Boy shots missing on the terrain, failing to connect with the Dire Avengers. Dire Avengers right here, let's see, they have their aspects, they do not have their Exarch. Exarch could be very, very useful. Dire Avengers are a a squad that's very, very good at scaling into the late game when you get both of their upgrades. One of the best squads in the game in terms of how well they scale. Anyway, Death Row is moving forward. Here is a Rox, though, to break this Eldar formation. I have a feeling a Rox going... Oh, my God! Oh, that one... The main rock killed both Dire Avengers. Killed the Fire Prism, and I think lucky to keep this D-Cannon alive. So that was an incredible Rox. Deckard just slightly slow to react, and then he retreated. Ended up really retreating right into it. And of course, the Rox, it has several... The Rox nuke calls down several rocks, but there's one main rock. It's the biggest rock. It does the most damage, and it managed to catch both of those Dire Avengers. Anyway, Red Team now making their move, feeling pretty confident after that Rox, I think, and it definitely sent Deckard packing. Even his avatar is in retreat. And I think, oh man, if zeetorq focuses on the Havoc, that's going to be the end of the Havoc. Can he get it? Oh, but they... Sluggas, just barely. One hit point, and they do finish off that Havoc. They do have the Curse of Tzeentch on them, causing some of their models to explode, but that wasn't able to stop them from getting the Havoc. Anyway, Che is here with his knobs, but the Dreadnoughts, both Dreadnoughts still alive for Crazy Peacocke and Tom, so their Dreadnought preservation has been good as well. Tanks moving in. I think the Corn Predator for Tom is done. Oh, but the las cannon Predator for Great Cornholio stops targeting the Corn Predator, but it still manages to go down. Alright, and the zeetorq's battle wagon needs to move off the field. Corn Dreadnought walking right into the firing arc of a Havoc, but wow, the las cannon Predator goes down as well. And I think this tank is out of control. Yes, it is. That was a really weird out of control path for it to die. So tanks dying all over the place. Che remarking that he has a nuke. We saw zeetorq's nuke before that was very, very well placed and ended up doing quite a bit in that engagement. Let's see if Che can do something with his nuke as well. Rox, one of the stronger nukes in the game. So it really does have a lot of power to make a game-changing play. In fact, I would say Rox, arguably the best all-around nuke. Of course, arguably, so we can argue about it. The Eldritch Storm is actually roughly as good. Maybe the Eldritch Storm is better because it's actually very good against infantry as well, while being better than the Rox against vehicles. Although the Rocket Run is more reliable than both of them, but it doesn't quite have the raw destructive power of either the Eldritch or the Rox. Although it is my opinion that those are the top half of the nukes in the game. The better half. Anyway, things are actually going to happen again. We've got Che moving in again, but he's finding himself in retreat a lot now. Not quite having much in terms of... Well, I think his main source of anti-vehicle are the knobs, so... And they end up getting countered a bit by the Dreadnought once it hits Blood Rage. And he's still out on the field. He's just running away from the Dreadnought. Meanwhile, over here, Avatar is back out on the field. I'm pretty sure this is the same Avatar. Didn't die, just had to go. It was just off the field for a bit so that it could. Ooh, and we had an attempted Psychic Storm by Deckard. And wow, oh my god, Knobs quite possibly done. One knob explodes because it had Curse of Tzeentch on it. Another knob explodes. So that is the end of the knobs. Knobs taken out. I believe those knobs belong to zeetorq, and yes, in fact, they did. Meanwhile, Battle Wagon's still around, but I don't think there are any units inside of it to give it extra speed. So the Avatar is chasing after it. Now, I don't know how well the Avatar can keep up. This could be very risky. This is kind of a risky play. The Battle Wagon is low on health, but the Avatar can definitely be kited by the Battle Wagon, especially if he can get a squad inside of it. In fact, if he can get a squad inside of it, I would say that would be probably be the end of this attempted play. Just put the Shooter Boys inside the Battle Wagon. Give the Battle Wagon the extra speed so that it can really just kite the Avatar. As it is, it looks like the Avatar might even take out the Battle Wagon. So, and here we go with the Predator as well. The Predator can actually contribute to taking out the Battle Wagon if he just targets it. But now this Predator is in its own bit of trouble because the Tzeentch Dreadnought as well as the other Nurgle Predator. Oh, but it gets teleported. So Battle Wagon is still keeping up the chase. This Havoc needs to set up to save the Battle Wagon, but instead the Avatar abandons the chase. But you know what? I think the Avatar is done. And he's actually given up. Yeah, this Avatar is done. So unfortunately, that was not a that was a bit of a misguided play, just trying to chase down a Battle Wagon with an Avatar. And zeetorq made that a little closer than it had to be. He really should have put a squad in there to increase the Battle Wagon's speed. Weird Boy shot knocks over a Havoc model, but does not knock over the Heavy Bolter. Here is an Imperial Abyss. Imperial Abyss not doing a whole lot of damage, but it does scare Che off. He does full retreat out of it. Pretty much prevents him from taking losses. He took hardly any losses from that, but it did scare him off the field, so he is now off the field. And we actually have the Demon Armor from the Great Cornholio Sorcerer. Generally not a terribly common war gear for the Sorcerer, but it can still be very, very powerful. Basically creates the shield, which will reduce damage. Is that an Eldritch Storm? No, it's just a... That was just a... Oh god, what was it? It was a Psychic Storm! We do have some Curse of Tzeentch on the Chosen Plague Marines. I don't think that's going to be very good at all. And while Chosen Plague Marines appear to be doing work, yeah, Chosen Plague Marines are not going to die very easily, so I don't think Curse of Tzeentch is very well cast on them, since it is unlikely to actually do anything. That's kind of a waste of energy. But blue team now actually with a significant lead in VPs, 321 to 68. But it's the red team now coming out, getting the double cap.
We are achieving our goals.
Ooh, we have some speed making these things faster. I'm not sure what is actually making them faster. There's no Weird Boy there, and that wouldn't explain why the Land Raider Phobos is going faster. Che making another play again. We now have some Chaos Terminators out for Tom. But I think Che has been doing so well for much of the game. Right now, I think he's acting a little too much solo when he really needs to work with his teammates, especially since Deckard has gotten a little weak, and I think too often maybe Cornholio is finding himself up against two different armies. We actually have a fusion gun autarch. We don't see that very often. Gives her basically a rapid-firing melt-a-gun. All right, now Che is committing to the engagement, but again, he doesn't really have much support. Kind of. Cornholio's on the other side, actually trying to go for a decap on the red team's natural. He actually has the decap, was trying to go for the full cap. What else are we going to see right here? We see that Eldar marker. That's probably going to be a decannon singularity, but doesn't pull anything in. We have a looted tank answering back, but needs to be very, very careful about this Havoc right here. Havoc needs to be careful as well. About to get chopped up by the Orcs' Warboss Power Claw. And the Warboss, man, he is tanking a lot of damage, but he's going to go down soon, or he's going to need to retreat. Looted tank needs to be careful as well. Does not have its extra armor, and it is facing down a Land Raider Phobos. Land Raider Phobos takes a las cannon shot, so it needs to move back as well. It's trying to move forward. I think probably trying to go after the battle wagon, but it needs to be very, very careful. Doesn't want to push too hard and lose itself. This Fire Prism, I think, in quite a bit of trouble. I think that Missile Barrage will finish it off. In fact, it does. Need to keep those Fire Prisms back so that they're really never really exposed. That's really the ideal way to use a Fire Prism, is to keep it so far back that it's never actually exposed, so that it can shoot without being shot at all. So it really needs to be behind your line, and if your line's getting breached, you gotta move it back. Tzeentch Chaos Space Marines trying to move in, probably just to get the cap, but I imagine they're going to start taking damage soon, or they're going to get torn apart by the Khorne Dreadnought. They are getting torn apart. Khorne Dreadnought has not even activated Blood Rage, but look at how much damage it's doing. Cornholio nearly losing a squad there, just getting a decap. Here's another flank by zeetorq. zeetorq flanking with his looted tank. Looted tank now does have extra armor, and these Chaos Space Marines could potentially be in a lot of trouble. Let's see what another cannon shot can do. Cannon shot appeared to miss there. Cannon shot from the looted tank actually pretty powerful. It has lower DPS than an autocannon Predator, but it fires slower, so it does quite a bit. So it does more damage per shot, and the damage per shot on that looted tank actually appears pretty substantial. Must have good splash as well. Here goes the Frenzied Barrage, suppressing those shooter boys. I don't know where these Banshees are going. I think that's just too much for them to charge into late game, just having them charge in half health like that. Plague Champion now in a bit of trouble. Does inevitably go down. Was not surprising at all, considering there are knobs here, there are Slugger Boys. Appears there are maybe 2 squads of knobs right here, and Slugger Boys are going to go down for Che. Yeah, he's got 1 squad of knobs, and yeah, he's got 2 squads of knobs. And I can see that now in the unit tab, or the unit panel, since he lost the Slugger Boys. Before I could only see 1. But I have a feeling this Land Raider Phobos is done. Getting shot at by the other Land Raider Phobos, easily goes down. Looted tank, meanwhile, taking long-range Fire Prism shots. This Fire Prism needs heals, and it needs to stay where it is. But overall, that looks like a win for the blue team in terms of units they're taking out. But time is ticking. VPs are ticking in the red team's favor. But this Chaos Predator definitely dead. So major victories for the blue team in terms of unit kills, especially vehicle kills. But they're actually running out of time. VPs are now almost evened up. Blue team has lost about 200 of their VPs in the lead that they had. Used the Psychic Storm, but and Cornholio loses his Land Raider Phobos. Those Terminators went down incredibly quickly. Alright, we've got the Battle Wagon now pushing in. Battle Wagon has done pretty well to stay alive. It has had a very, very long life. Chaos Dreadnought, level 4, actually pushing in. Blood Raging, that's probably going to be the end of this Dreadnought, though. Pushing hard for the Chaos Predator. Chaos Predator does have melee resistance, though, so I don't think it's going to do that well. And it is backing up, and it's going to end up walking into knobs. So this is probably the end of this Dreadnought. And, of course, this is Tom. He's a Plague Champion, so he will not have anything to like teleport it out with. So Dreadnought's definitely down, and the Fire Prism actually goes down. I didn't even see what. Probably from this Battle Wagon, though. VP's now getting much, much more even. 108 to 50. Battle Wagon, meanwhile, taking shots at the D-Cannon. And I have a feeling this Predator might finally go down as well. It's getting pretty close. Chasing after it with the Battle Wagon. I think Plasma Pistols could even finish it off, but he doesn't go after it. Still a double cap for the red team. They are pushing so far into, despite all of the losses they've taken, they're pushing hard. And this battle wagon now, zeetorq now seeming like the MVP of this game. Here is the Eldritch Storm as well as an Imperial Abyss. That should finish off something. It doesn't finish off anything quite yet. But the battle wagon, here's the rocks as well. So what, both of those tanks go down. Managed to catch both those tanks go down with the rocks in base. But both those nukes actually did manage to finish off those tanks. VPs actually evened out to 80, well, 1-to-1. Not even, VPs are not even out, but it's a 1-to-1 cap. 85 to 50 with the red team about to get the cap again. Cornholio moving in. He's actually switched out the Sword of Flame for the Rod of Warpfire. I think the Rod of Warpfire does have better late game scaling, particularly against, or particularly in team games, rather. Psychic Storm goes off on the Havocs for Crazy Peacock. It nearly loses the Havocs. Is he going to lose that Havoc? 4 HP, and it survives. Another Imperial Abyss on the middle to deny the cap to the blue team. That is definitely one of the very good uses of the Imperial Abyss. Use it as a late game VP denial, because pretty much as long as it's there, you can't cap. Fusion gun Autarch trying to get this Luda-Tank. Luda-Tank just might go down. It's going to be a close call, but I think the Luda-Tank will actually make it out of there alive. Luda-Tank does. So zeetorq now looking very, very strong in this game, looking like the MVP, having lots of crazy saves. He's going to lose the Luda-Tank, though, if he does not move it away from this new Land Raider Phobos from Cornholio. Appears to be path blocking his own vehicles on stuff. He's going to lose stuff. Luda-Tank down. Now the battle wagon might finally go down. Actually still has 600 hit points. Land Raider Phobos taking shots from the las cannon. It's still in that las cannon's firing arc, but appears to be outside of its sight range. Sorcerer is now capping, and VPs are actually in favor of the red team after having a deficit of about 321 to 68, I believe. I think those are even the exact numbers. It's now 50 to 41 in their favor, but blue team on the mid. Whoa, we've got a flying battle wagon. That battle wagon's got wings. It's crazy what that orc psychic might does. Of course, orcs, things with orc stuff pretty much works. Orc machinery pretty much works because orcs believe they will. So if they believe that a battle wagon can fly, a battle wagon will fly. So single cap actually for the blue team, and they've got the Farseer on this point right here. So maybe the blue team looking to take it. Because the red team doesn't have anything. They're capturing the contested VP. Can they get the Farseer off the point? Cannot even get the Farseer off that point. Sluggerboy is going to tie up the Wraith Guard, which is good. But now they need to get units on this point. They need to get it decapping. Weird Boy does. zeetorq actually now doing very, very well. But where his Sluggerboys, they actually need to get back there to repair this battle wagon, because the battle wagon isn't going to have much more influence, or well, he's pretty much going to have to play a very, very risky game of using it with very, very low health, and it's getting very, very close to dying. Meanwhile, we have a Sorcerer capturing under the protection of the demonic shield, or the demonic shield, and I think he might even be immune to the suppression of that heavy bolter while in that shield. Oh, very, very bad for the cast Terminators. Teleporting in, but getting hit by the Dirge caster. They cannot do anything in that case. Predator goes down. And I think Terminators are done for. Those are more of Tom's Terminators. D-Cannon taking shots. It's a 1-to-1 cap. I think that's going to be a Singularity. Can that Singularity... Oh, nearly wipes out the Shooter Boys. So I thought it was actually going to wipe out this squad of Shooter Boys. I think having a knob pretty much saved it. Land Raider Phobos goes down again. Another Land Raider Phobos down. But meanwhile, this Tzeentch Dreadnought has been alive forever. It has lasted the whole game. So it's level 4. If there wasn't even a cap on if level 4 wasn't the level cap for for non-commander units, it would probably be well above level 4 because it's really been around forever. Here's another Imperial Abyss as well as an Eldritch. How is that Eldritch? That Eldritch looked like it instantly wiped out 2 squads. Yes, it did. I think it was certainly a Havoc, and I think maybe either another Havoc or Chaos Space Marines. Wow. And look at how little Tom and Crazy Peacock have between them. You know, I'd say it's looking like it's going in favor of the red team, or I don't know. It's impossible to call at this point. They're losing so much stuff, but who's going to get the VPs? We have an Ard Boys on Commandos. Ard Boys on Commandos. I bet they're going to do Ard Boys and then go for the cap, but they're not even on the point. VP is going to be evened out, or there's going to be a 1-to-1 cap because the Weird Boy is capturing the blue team's natural, and now it is a 1-to-1 cap again. We have a Plague Cloud. Plague Cloud scares off Chaos Space Marines, but not going to scare off Knobs. But we have the Warboss in here buying some time for the Commandos. Well played. It allows the Commandos to capture the point. That just might be the game for the red team. Or is it? Because it looks like something is decapping. I can't even tell what is decapping, but the decap happens, and it's now a 1-to-1 cap. 8-to-24. Meanwhile, what's on this point? Blue team on this point. Knobs, that's what's on this point. Frenzied Knobs, but they get knocked off, so the cap has stopped. It's just a lot of stuff vying for this point. But meanwhile, we do have some attempted something by these Chaos Raptors because they are not getting it done. I think the chosen Plague Marines are just going to try to get on the point. They need to be disrupted by that Weird Boy, and they need to be even more disrupted by this Battle Wagon. Need to keep disrupting them because they're going to start decapturing that point, and if they get it, all right, they haven't been knocked off. Oh, but they walk off. They stop. Attempted decaps all over the place. A double cap for the red team. I think that's going to be it for them. It's going to be an extreme. Oh, that's it. That's definitely it. If the Banshees had not been knocked over, they would have been able to get the decap on that point. So the victory in the end goes to the red team, amazingly. I would not have predicted them early on in this game to take this game. Tom was looking very, very weak in the early game. Crazy Peacock wasn't looking that great, and Che on the blue team was looking incredibly strong. Towards the late game, I think it was more zeetorq who was really looking strong. In fact, you know, first half of the game, MVP was Che. Second half of the game had to be zeetorq. zeetorq with a lot of clutch Warboss play, disruption, as well as the Battle Wagon, which did really, really incredible. Crazy Peacock did do very, very well with his Tzeentch Dreadnought, though. All right. That was an absolutely incredible game. Hope you enjoyed it. Have a good night.